Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn how to make 3D elements on our mask. So there are several things you can do that I'll show you here. So one, this student right here, if you'll notice, they have a really interesting texture here for these weird tear blood spatter thingies. I don't know what they are. Maybe blood, dripping blood out of the eye sockets, of course, you know. Typical. Very typical. You know, if I had a nickel for every time I had blood just pouring out of my eyeballs like this, I'd be a millionaire. Okay, so what I want to show you guys is how to do things like this. So you can get the texture you want. You don't have to get a texture like this, but you can use hot glue for things like this. So this artist just so happened to want it really bumpy, so they did it really bumpy, but you can squeeze out your hot glue in such an even manner that you get a really nice tear or blood drop, and you can leave it clear if you want it to be a tear because the hot glue is clear. Or you can also paint it over with a mixture of whatever you think blood looks like, maybe red and black, a little tiny bit of black in your red, kind of get that dingy, bloody, yucky look. Alright, so that's one way we can do it, but we're not going to focus on the hot glue gun today. We're going to focus on some real 3D projections here. So first thing we're going to do, I'm going to show you how we're going to try to build a nose. So we're going to try to build a nose up. So today I'm going to use a mechanical pencil because that's what most of you have. So I'm going to show you a mechanical pencil. We're going to draw some kind of nose on here. Is it going to be a naturalistic nose? Maybe, kind of. And so I'm drawing some outlines. I'm not trying to fool your eye into thinking this is a realistic looking nose yet. I'm just trying to capture all the lines that I know are on a nose because I want to fill those lines in with some kind of three-dimensional bulk. Okay, so I'm going to try to draw the lines I know are there instead of trying to hide some and make these delicate shadows and stuff. I want to make a real outline, and I'm going to make this an actual 3D nose, so I won't have to do any trickery there because it'll actually be 3D. Now there's several ways we can do this, and one of the ways I'm going to show you is with tinfoil. Okay, so I'm going to tear off a little chunk of tinfoil here. It's going to take more tinfoil than you think, so you can always make sure you have your parents' permission to use their tinfoil. Don't say like, "Oh, Mr. Jones told me to." Okay, so I'm going to say we're starting to get in that shape. So just like with any other sculpting, we want to start with a basic shape, and we want to just start going from there. And you can actually get some really well-defined shapes out of your tinfoil. I'm just going to do, I think I'm going to do the basic shapes out of this, and then I'm going to come back in and show you how to refine them with paper mache. So I can also do this with straight paper mache, build this bulky form up. I don't have to have tinfoil. I can use paper mache, solid paper mache. So if you notice here, I've got a bunch of scrap paper mache. I'm going to go ahead and throw them in my mache, into my glue mixture, so that make sure they're soaked down in there. And that'll make sure that they are soaked up and really wet like a spitball so that I can shape those later on. So do I fit my nose blank? Almost, almost. I'm going to go ahead and try to mash my nose flat here. Try to get some of my details ready. One of the cool things about this is I can actually polish this smooth if I want to. I can kind of rub it against the table and start getting it really smooth, really nice. I don't have to though. I don't have to. I can do that later with the mache. It's whatever I want to do. I'm going to pull some of this nostril thing back out here, this little divider in between the nostrils. What do you call that? It's called the hippocampus. No, not really. That's a part of your brain. All right, here we go. So now I've got my very basic nose shape. I'm fitting in here pretty good. I may have narrowed this part out too much. I think what I'll do though is I might build it back out with mache. because this is very unforgiving. I need to curve it though, so that it'll fit to my mask. And I got maybe a little too much here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my 10 snips and cut some of it off. I got my 10 snips here for a later part of the demonstration. Hi-ya. All right, because I want this to kind of fade down into the face. All right. I don't need any of that. I don't need any of that. All right, so here we go. Now we're getting somewhere. So we've got our basic nose shape. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to hot glue this nose into place. Okay, so now I'm ready to glue on my nose. Oh boy, did I get a little bit of hot glue on my stand here. Ew, don't touch the hot glue, by the way. Do as I say, don't do as I do, because this stuff is very hot. I'm just a very powerful teacher, so I'm gonna put a little glue here. Ooh. Now this isn't the clear glue, right? So the kind of glue I'm gonna be giving you guys is clear. So don't worry, I'm not a liar. I'm not a liar, I'm telling you the truth, okay? You can do the same thing by building this up with paper mache. So you saw I soaked my paper mache now. It's been in there quite a little while. It is very goopy. So I can do things with it now. I can actually sculpt with it. I can take this and it's pretty malleable. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and blend this nose into the forehead, right? Now it's going up a little high, but this is cartoonish, right? It's very cartoonish. Nobody's gonna have buckets of blood pouring out of their eyes. Okay, so you see it doesn't look just absolutely beautiful yet, but it's very squishy like a spitball. I can do a lot of different things with it. And what I want to do when I'm done with that, I want to come back and put a layer of mache over this. All right, so I want to come back now, and now I want to put my mache, my smooth mache, my pretty mache, over the top of the ugly mache. All right. All right, I'm using my smaller pieces again, right? Because the smaller the pieces, the faster I can put them on, because I don't have to fight all of those wrinkles. If you don't have hot glue, you can actually tape your nose piece on. That's okay too. That is perfectly fine. All right, nice and smooth and pretty. We're getting there. I can also sculpt my little details on my nostril and stuff with the paper mache as well. I could do it with the tinfoil or the paper mache. I just wanted to show you a little bit of both techniques here. Oh, I don't want to capture too many of those wrinkles there, so I'm gonna maybe put multiple layers of my paper on so that I don't get those wrinkles from the aluminum foil. All right, there we go. We're getting there. We're getting there. If you notice, I like to go off the face a little, off the face of the mask and onto the nose and overlap. You'll see me do that again whenever I make a horn in just a minute. And at this point, I may want to start getting even smaller pieces. I know I'm already going pretty small here, but I may want to even start smaller pieces because the tip of the nose is like a really tricky bit. So there's a lot of different shapes in here, and I don't want to lose my fidelity by putting these big pieces in. So I might start making really small pieces, and that's okay too. So I only have to make one nose, right? unless you're making a piece with multiple noses. I actually have had a student do that. So, all right. So I think we're pretty well safe to fast forward at this point. All right, so here we are. We got a lot of this thing covered. I'm gonna go ahead and start making that little, I'm gonna start accentuating that little thing in between my nose with paper mache. So I'm gonna start building that up. And then I can cover it up with small strips. Once again, I want to stick to those small strips here. I'm gonna tear this. Even this is too big, maybe. Maybe I want to come here and make the tip of my nose with this. And then I'll come around and, ooh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Get a lot of that definition there. Try to get my paper mache to stay in. That can be one of the tricks to this. Another reason you don't want to use really big pieces, because it makes this part more difficult. And I can just keep on adding layers and building up places that I want to be built up and lowering places that I want to lower until I get what I'm satisfied with. So I can do the same thing. I can roll up a little sculptural element here to build up my nostril here. All right, so I can build that up. Get another very similar piece. Get all my excess glue off of it. Roll it up for my other nostril here. And then I can come back and build over that with mache. Little strips of mache, right? Got the same thing going on here. I just want to make sure I come back over here and cover them up when I'm done, so that I get that seamless look. Little bitty strips. Little bitty strips. The smaller the better in little details like this. Okay, so I'm starting to shape up into a nostril. I'm going to try to finish this side up real quick. I don't want to take up any more time on this demo. I'm a very important man. Kind of important here. I am so important. All right, let's see. Put another layer. I don't like that little dent that I made in there. I still got it. I'm going to keep adding layers till I get rid of that. That's my prerogative. All right, so now we're starting to get there. And one of the things I want to do too is make sure that I get in there and get all the way from overlapping the mask up to the parts that I just added. That way it doesn't look like these are two separate things. We want it to look like the nose is growing out of the face. All right. So I'm very careful. So you see that right there? That's a definite seam that gives our mask away, and now everybody's gonna know it's not real. All right, so what I want to do is tear off a little bitty piece, and make sure I can even take my pencil and make sure I stuff it down where I want it, and that it overlaps so I can get that fidelity that I want. And I can just keep adding little bits here and there until this thing looks just like I want. So like I said, I'm probably not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. Eventually I'm just going to give up on it because this is a demo, not an actual real work of art. I don't see one of my nostrils is thicker than the other. Once again, I can ball up Mache and change that. I can build it up to where they're the same. And that's what I'm going to do to an extent. I don't know if I'll be fully committed to going the whole way with it because, like I said, this is just a demo. But I want to get enough on there I can sand it if I want to. See what all I messed up on the top, right? Because as you work with sculpture, you'll notice that while you're fixing one thing, you're destroying another. My nose is a little crooked here. I got a little bit of a cavity right here. I'll go ahead and fill that in with paper mache once again. So I'll take that and fill in that void to where it's more even. Maybe a little more even. There we go. Now I'm more satisfied. Now I can cover that up with strips of mache. And then no one will be the wiser. This is just our little secret. And everyone else on YouTube, if they see this. All right, so here we go. Voila, it's my nose, okay? Now I've got a nose. All right, let's go ahead to the next stage of this tutorial. And I can even let this dry and put some more details on it, make it even more naturalistic and believable as we go. And you know, if you're making your own mask in this class, you definitely want to do that so that you can get a better grade and so you can sand it so it'll be stronger. But once everything dries, then I can deal with the little finicky parts that messed up without having to worry about destroying my all my work that I've done so far. But sculpture is like that. It's kind of like give and take. You one step forward, or 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards. 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards. You destroy, you make something new, you destroy a little bit of what you did before. You come back and fix that, and then you make something new, and you destroy a little bit of what you did before. And that's kind of the way sculpture works in a way. You just gotta get used to that balance. All right, so now I'm gonna go to the next step. All right, I want to take and make a shape out of this wire form. Show you how to use this. You guys are more than welcome to use this if you're on campus. If you're not on campus, you can come get some if your parents approve of that. So you can also get some at Home Depot or Lowe's. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make a little horn, and I want it to be about this tall. So I'm cutting it out to the height I want it to be. And then I want to make sure it's much wider than I want it to be. So if I want my horn to be like this big between my 2 thumbs, I'm going to cut it out much wider. Okay? And so I'm going to slowly start rounding this off into a horn shape. And I'm going to do like a curved horn, okay? Because it's the more difficult horn to make, and it's one of the more popular horns to make. So if you can make a curved horn, you can make a straight horn. So I'm just doing a little bit at a time. You'll see this stuff at a certain point it won't want to bend that well. It likes to fold better than bend sometimes. So at a certain point we may have to fold it. But you can already start to see I'm starting to get some kind of horn shape here. It's not anything tricky. So I'm just cutting out a triangle. I'm cutting it out to the height I want the horn to be, but I'm cutting it out much wider than I want it to be because we lose a lot of our width here when we start coiling this around, right? So I'm going to start slowly trying to make this work. Just a little bit at a time. Be careful with these edges. They are sharp. So I haven't poked myself yet today, but I can. It is very sharp. So be careful how much pressure and how we apply pressure to these edges because those are like little needles. I'm going to bend this way. But now I can see I got a little hot spot there. I'm going to mash that in, a little hot spot there. I'm going to mash that in. And I can just keep refining this until I get the exact horn I want. I'm going to pull this apart a little bit and over curve it right here around the edge so that it goes where I want it to when I smash it in. All right. And that's essentially my horn. I'm going to make my horn sprawl out where it goes to the face, or the mask rather. And then I'm ready to paper mache over this thing, right? And so I'll show you how to attach it. I just want to make sure I'm kind of even here, which I don't think I am. So I'm going to trim some of this off. These 10 snips are perfect for cutting this wire, but if you're at home and you don't have 10 snips, go buy some. No, I'm just kidding. Scissors will work, but once again, ask your parents. It will destroy the edge on them eventually. So it may not after one try. See, I've got a little bump there. I don't like that. I'm going to take my mechanical pencil from earlier and push it out while holding back up around the rest of this. And so I can do something like that to get the shapes I want. So don't, if there's a bump there or a sunken in spot you don't like, don't just sit there and be satisfied with it. Mash the bumps in, or find a tool, or something you can use as a tool to pull those holes back out, all right? So just like I'm going to do right here. All right, so I'm satisfied with this, at least for the demo. And I would say this is about ready to glue on. Now we are going to add our horn. So once again, we'll go back to our glue. I'm going to put a little ring of glue around here so that we can, and I'm going to do it on the inside so that it doesn't, I don't want a bunch of glue piling up around the outside and ruining the effect. Okay, now our horn is once again a little crooked, so I'm going to try to fix that as I smash it down. And I can also reshape it a little. I don't know, I kind of like it. It's kind of funny. So I'll hold this back on. The whole thing's kind of funny if you think about it. So I'll hold this on for a second till it dries. It's almost there. See, now I can pick up the mask with it. All right, now what I want to do is I want to paper mache this. So we will again go to fast forward here in a second. I just want to show you how I want to overlap. So I want to make sure I'm part on the mask, part on the horn. That way it looks like it comes organically from it. I don't want it to look like it's an ad hoc thing that we added here, fake. I want it to look like it's real. Another thing I'll point out real quick before I go to fast forward is that paper mache doesn't really want to stick to this metal. That's something you'll find. And because of that, you have to kind of put it on a certain way. So what I like to do is I like to make sure my stuff wraps around a little. You see how it's kind of not sticking? So I'll come back around from the other side here. This is where, you know, shaping your own customizable sized mache around this would work really well. But I already pre-tore these for another part of the demo, so I won't be doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and stick it to this side, lay that side down, stick it to that side, and so paper mache sticks to itself. And that's kind of how you have to do it. You have to make sure it goes all the way around so that it sticks to itself. If you have long, thin strips, that might work really well. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and fast forward it because I think that's all you need to know about macheing the horn. We got one last little thing to show you here. That's the tip of the horn. I like to do these in like a diamond shape kind of. You just want to be very careful with this part because you want it to look realistic, all right? So a lot of people end up messing this part up And it may take you a couple attempts. It'll even take me a couple of attempts to get this right, because it's a difficult little bit. There we go, a really nice sharp tip on that horn. That's what we want. I want to give it a good once over and see if there's any mess ups that we need to cover up. You want to put more than one layer on this, most likely. So I'm not, because I'm not going to actually make this mask. This is a mask that someone transferred out and never finished. But you want to take a little more care with yours. So yours is going to get graded. And you know, if you're going to make this, you want to make something that you're actually proud of and that you actually want to keep. Why just make trash to put in the garbage? All right. So I hope this gives you some different ways. We can also make things out of cardboard. So I can take, if I wanted some, like maybe some markings around the eyes that were 3D, I can take and hot glue that cardboard down in the shapes that I cut out and then paper mache over it. Right? Same way I did the tinfoil. All right, I hope this helps.